Okay, we're on. You guys, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday, or whatever day it is that you are watching this. Welcome to our 90 Days of Greatness. This is week, what is it, 8? I believe it's 8. Week 8. Oh my goodness. Okay, so as you know, we're a little bit behind. And so I sort of mapped out everything for these next few weeks and where I felt like we were at with our content. And so in 2 or 3 weeks from now, I'm going to combine 2 shorter topics into one hangout, okay? And so always do the task for the week based on the topic of the hangout. So for example, this week we are talking about using programs to work with and develop your people. And so you would do the task that's connected with that, which is coaching someone on the Power Program or the Star Consultant Program and supporting them in those. So you always do the task based on the content of the hangout. Okay, so I wanted to clarify that just so you know what you're doing. Okay, so this week is using programs. Okay, programs that we have in Mary Kay, in your national area, in your unit, to work with and develop your people. And so this is sort of a subcategory of the overarching system of unit communication programs and recognition. Okay, we touched on that last week and went over a communication strategy. And so now this just digs in a little bit deeper and is related to what we covered last week, okay? And so we're using programs to work with and develop people. I wanted to cover maybe like the deeper purpose of this. The obvious surface level things are that your people get recognized and they're doing things that are helping them build their business and they're following the prize trail. So that's the surface level stuff. That's like the low hanging fruit that's just easy to grab, easy to implement. But then there's some deeper things that I think, number one, really help to close the back door. When you can get people enrolled in these systems, it just creates this team spirit, this camaraderie, this sense of winning, this sense of purpose, this sense of accomplishment, that people thrive in that environment. They want to stay in that environment. So I think it's one way to close the back door to really use these systems to develop your people. Not just so people are star consultants and you get your bonus and they get their prize. No, but because it develops them. It develops them as people. It develops them as a consultant. It develops them as a businesswoman. It develops their people skills. It develops their money management skills. It develops their attitude management skills. When they work these programs, they're tapping into a variety of different skill sets. And they, over time, they grow as a person. And that's ultimately what we're after. You know, success isn't about what you do or accomplish. It's about who you become in the process. And so when we are focused on that definition of success and helping other people achieve that definition of success, developing into the better and best versions of themselves, then really something beautiful unfolds in your unit. Okay, so that's what these programs can really offer your people. It develops them as a person. They're going to grow. They're going to change in the process. Okay, so it closes the back door. It develops your people and develops their skills. It gives you a reason to communicate. It gives you a reason to reach out. It gives you a reason to say, hey, let's talk, let's connect. And so you use them as the reason to have a conversation, have a coaching conversation with your people. And then just like it develops people into the better versions of themselves, it develops your leaders as well. And really your people who are focused on working these programs, the Star Consultant Program, the Power Program, the Book 10 program, the Move Up in Red and Move Up the Career Path program. Your people who are working those programs are your next leaders. Well, they're your current leaders. They're your current leaders in your unit, and then they're the next leaders who will eventually become sales directors. And even if they never do become your offspring sales directors, they remain as strong leaders in your unit who are building successful businesses, if even only part time. Okay, and that's a good thing. And so I really, over the years, have not veered too far away from these programs. And let me go over them again. It's the Power Program, which, if you're unfamiliar with that, you guys, it's just a Power Start program. Well, it's a Perfect Start Power Start program. It's the first thing I learned as a new consultant. And it's a program that Pam Shaw created years and years ago. So I came into the unit, learned it, and then it's transformed and changed and evolved over the years. We called it the Perfect Program, and then now we're calling it the Powered Program. And the qualifications have changed over the year, but the same core concepts and principles of what the Powered Program teaches have stayed the same, and that's what I'm going to touch on. And so the programs are the Power Program, Star Consultant Program. We now have a Century Club program, which I'm going to explain what that is. We have a book, 10 by the 5th program that we focus on. We have a Move Up the Career Path program, and then we have all of our events, our quarterly events, which I really consider a quote unquote program in your unit to get people to events. And so those are the core ones that I really have not strayed too far from those. I don't want to always come up with a new promotion. I don't like to throw out little detailed things. Sometimes, I mean, true confessions, in the past, the company program has been confusing. And so I really have just honed in on the programs I have just listed, and it has served me well. And these are our programs. I mean, we eat, we sleep, we breathe, we live these programs that I'm going to go over. Because you don't want to create confusion. A confused mind does nothing. I think sometimes, and I'm very guilty of this, like you want to create excitement, so you post a new promotion. Like, this will get people to do something. This will get people to work. Let's come up with a new price and a new promotion. And people are over promoted and overpriced and over flyered and just over programmed because of so many different things. I mean, we already have enough as it is already. And so have your core set of programs in your unit, whether it's these or a variation of these, and just stick so tightly to those programs and work those programs. I mean, just like work them for all they've got to give to your unit. There are also programs I talk about every single week. I mean, I have touched on these programs. I've touched them. I've worked with them. I've communicated them. I've recognized them every single week for the past 11 years. And it's every single week, you guys. And so I set up my days that every day of the week I'm touching on at least one of these. Sometimes I spend 5 minutes doing it and just posting and updating a flyer with recognition. Sometimes I spend quite a bit more time really digging in and coaching people and having conversations and creating meaningful recognition and affirming people who are participating. Okay, so I don't always spend the same amount of time every week, but they are programs I touch. I put my hands on them every single week on different days of the week. We'll touch on that a little bit more later. Also, have you ever had the oh crap feeling? I may have trained on this already, but I think it's worth saying again. I had this a lot as a new director. It's like, oh crap, the star deadline is next week, and I haven't talked to anyone about being a star, building to star, or finishing their star. It's like, oh crap. Or like, oh crap, it's the last week of the month. Where are people at with the power program? Is anyone on target to finish? Who's out there working? I don't know. So have you ever had that oh crap feeling where it's like you think of something and you realize it's too late, like the opportunity has passed and you've kind of missed the boat, the ship has already sailed, and you missed seizing that moment and really making something of it? And so because I hated that oh crap feeling so much, I just created systems and took the things that I was saying, oh crap about, and made them more systematic. And that was one of many solutions, was to, on Monday, I touched this. On Tuesday, I touched this. On Wednesday, I touched this. And my communication strategy has changed over the years, but these programs led that communication strategy and helped me to avoid that oh crap feeling, and helped me give a sense that I was on top of it. I was really leading my people. I'm really effectively maxing out these programs. Okay. The other program, you guys, that I would add into this, and kind of connects to all of these, is the bracelet program right now that the company has. That's another one that the company gives you this beautiful gift. And then if you, or when we don't like really sink our teeth into that, like really own it, really create meaningful recognition, really coach on it, really train on it, like really just sink our teeth into it, we just miss opportunities. And what could have been is not. Not because there wasn't the capacity or potential for it to be something, just because we as the leader like missed the opportunity. We let the ship sail. Okay, there's more in your unit. There's more you can pull out of your business. There's more inside of you. There's more inside of your people than you could probably even realize. It just may be like missed opportunities. But when we can be on top of communication and leading using these programs, you guys, it's like you seize opportunities. Okay. All right. The power program. The flyer is in your packet. I've talked about it many times. The tracking sheet is also in your packet. Feel free to use it or a variation of it, or completely make your own thing. But it's essentially a focus on parties and faces, and then working it full circle. So not just doing 30 faces, or not just holding 10 parties, but doing the career surveys, doing the sales, doing the wholesale order, and doing the recruiting that you can expect to come from that activity when you do Mary Kay math. And so it's a full circle picture is what the power program is. And yeah, it was the first thing I learned. It was the first thing I did in Mary Kay. It's the first memories I have of like working my business was a focus on, back then it was called the Gen X program. It was the first prizes I got from completing the Gen X program. It created focus. It created drive. It created a prioritized to-do list, because I would do the things that would allow me to write stuff down on my Gen X tracking sheet. And so it helped me to prioritize versus getting caught up in all the busy work. I mean, there's so much goodness in having a program like this, a consistent program like this for your unit. I can't even begin to tell you. Like, if you ignore all these other programs and just run with a Power Start, Perfect Start program that has multiple levels, you guys, it will be the gift that keeps on giving. So here's kind of how I work the power program. Here's a few ideas I want to throw out to you so that you can customize and own your own Power Start program. I do train on it on New Consultant Training. Remember, my New Consultant Training is 4 parts. I do booking and coaching, how to do the Mary Kay party using the flip chart, recruiting, and then business management. A big part of business management is going over Power Program and Start Consultant Program. Like, those are the ones I really want them to get. And so I will train on it, train on how to use the tracking sheet, train on the numbers, train on the why behind the numbers, train on the Mary Kay math, and just really spend some time doing that. It's also on my new consultant tracking sheet that I have a power program conversation with new consultants. I know they're going to get it at training, but after their debut, that's what I want them to do. I want them to do a level of the power program. And so that is typically when I'd be having that conversation, is sometimes in the conversation right after the debut, sometimes in the conversation before or after their first party. But yeah, that is a conversation I want to have with every new consultant, because I want her to do it. And so we inspect what we expect. So I expect her to do it. So I'm going to inspect that, and I'm going to make sure she's clear on it, and that she feels equipped and has all the resources she needs to implement the power program in her business. And so we have a system for turning in numbers. Back in the day, I used to have to go to Kinko's or FedEx and like fax my sheet to Pam Shaw each week for accountability. Thankfully, technology has improved and there's easier ways to turn in numbers. So I have a Google Doc form in the pinned post of my unit Facebook group. And I very much use the pinned post in my unit Facebook group like I do in this one, that it just has all the resources and links and just everything they would need or look for or want to find is just right there in the pinned post. And so they click the Google Doc form and they fill in their numbers. They can even below that click to make sure they submitted. Because, you know, you run into the challenge of like, oh, I submitted my numbers, but you didn't get them. And we're like, I don't know, we didn't get them. And so we just provide the response link that they can just like double check that their name and their number is in there. And then that's due on Monday by midnight. And then on Tuesday, we do recognition for who turned in their numbers. Even people who turn in 0, we celebrate people for just being accountable and for putting their big girl panties on and just saying, I did nothing this week, but I want to stay in communication. And I do invite people to do that. I'm like, even if it's 0, just communicate like, hey, I'm in this. I want something out of this. I had a slow week, but I'm here, I'm in it, because then I will follow up with all of those people individually who turn in their numbers by Monday at midnight. On Tuesday is always the power program. That's the program I'm looking at on Tuesdays because I get the fresh numbers on Tuesday morning after they're turned in on Monday. And so I'm following up with these people. I'm having coaching conversations. We're doing recognition. We're celebrating who's on target based on their weekly numbers and their month-to-date numbers. And I'm just all over that. And also you can look at like, okay, she sold 200 retail and ordered 800 wholesale this week. Like, okay, what's going on there? Is she building her full store? If so, how close is she? What's going on in her business that there'd be so much reinvestment versus sales? And so that's just an opportunity for you to have a conversation. And it's an opportunity for you to kind of understand where she's at with her business and keep track of and kind of get a pulse or take a temperature of what's going on in her business. And when you see things like that, like, ooh, not so much retail, but a lot of wholesale, what's going on with that? That's worth having a conversation with her. Okay. Or like she did 30 faces, but sold nothing. Like, okay, that's an opportunity for a conversation. And that takes a leader stepping in there and saying, okay, let's talk about your party. Let's talk about your table close. Let's talk about your individual consultation. And you step in there and you lead her and you train her and you support her. So she's not running around doing 30 faces and not selling anything. Okay. So turn numbers in, we do follow-up. As a sales director, I did Gen X Girls Nights Out. Now it would be Power Program Girls Nights Out. I do them every now and then, but not as consistently as I did when I was a sales director. And this was a night out that I would plan for all Power Program achievers, plus any new consultants who came in last month or this month. Just anybody new could come regardless of what they did, because we wanted the new people to get plugged in and feel like they were getting to know people and just have that bonding time with them. And so at the beginning of every month, I would set the date and the activity for the next month. So let's say for February, we would celebrate February achievers in like the first week in March. And usually we did it on a Friday night, kind of a night where people would be going out or doing something fun. Usually the first Friday night of the month is typically when I did it. And so then on the first of the month, I'm posting the flyer about like, hey, this is what we're doing for our Power Program Girls Night Out. And let me tell you guys, the first month I did this, I had one winner. And me and Jessie Harper is her name. I think we went shopping together. It was just her and I. And loved it, had fun, loved her. She was a working key person in my unit, loved the time that we spent together. But there was a part of my heart that felt like, oh, do I want to invest time in this? Like, is this the best investment of my time? So I kept doing it because, you can't really decide if a promotion works after 1 month. you can't ever, you've got to let it catch on. And so then the next month it was myself and Jessie Harper and her mom, Juanetta, and we went out and did something fun. But I kept doing it, stuck to it, and it grew into like this thing. Like it was a thing. Everyone wanted to go to the Power Program Girls Night Out. And it became just a thing in our unit. It became a fun night. Everybody knew about it. Everybody was excited to find out what we were doing. We created memories there. I have just some super cute pictures from those nights out, just amazing memories, friendships that were developed, camaraderie that was developed. I mean, this was a key part of building our national area, were these nights out because of the connectedness that it naturally creates. And so, yeah, it became a thing. It wasn't a thing, and then it became a thing over time, as all things are. And so let's say you implement this for the first time. It's not going to be a thing the first few months you do it, but stick to it, and it can truly become a thing. If you're really wanting to develop leaders quickly and move towards national quickly, having this or something like this, is worthy of the investment of time and energy. So also afterwards, I would take, really good pictures. Pictures are important. And I would send an email to our whole unit about just that night. And I would have a picture and then a caption and a picture and a caption. And it always told a story of what unfolded. And there's always something funny or some cute memory that we made together. And I would send that to my unit just to make sure they saw, just to kind of communicate, like, don't miss it next month because look what you missed out on. You want to create that FOMO, that fear of missing out. And so we sent that out. I know in today's world of social media, you can post it immediately. Social media wasn't when I was a director. It makes me sound old, but you guys know how fast things have changed over the years. So it wasn't as much of a thing back then. And, if I were to do it today, you guys, I would still send that stinking email with the pictures downloaded in the email, captioned, because, yeah, it just told a story. And people wanted to be a part of that. And then over the years, we did consistency programs. So for, let's say, career conference, we would do a January, February, maybe March. Actually, not really March, because you don't have time to do that unless career conference lands in April, but it usually lands in March. So we do like a 2-month consistency. Even now at January Jumpstart, we'll do a November, December Power Program consistency, and they get extra recognition at January Jumpstart. So sometimes we'll group months together. For my fall advance that I do every year, and Pam Shaw did this, it was July, August, September Power Program consistency earned you like the best recognition at fall advance. April, May, June consistency with the Power Program usually earns you some really great recognition at seminar and at the end of the year. And then we even do 6-month consistencies. I did this on and off as a director. We didn't always do it, but we would take 6 months of the year and then do a girlfriend trip to Chicago, to Nashville, just to somewhere fun. And our 6-month achievers would earn that. And I included our Power Program consistency flyer in your workbook. Actually, this coming weekend, myself, our Unleashed area directors, and our consultants who earn the trip are going to Brown County and staying in a cabin and having this cabin fun getaway girlfriend weekend. And the Power Program was part of how they could earn it. Also bracelets and moving up into red were other ways that they could earn it. So you can check out that flyer. But we did that July through December. We're not doing one now, but I'll most likely do another July through December consistency program that I'll launch on July 1st. And so it can be, it is a monthly thing, but you can also do those like more extended consistency recognition programs as well. Also, I would send on-target emails to, like, especially as the month got towards the middle of the month and closer to the end, I would sometimes just shoot out a quick email like, hey girl, you're totally on target for Power Program. I want to see you at the girls' night out. It's going to be so fun. We're going here and there. Like, let me know how your numbers are going. Like, is it in the bag or are you feeling like it's far away? And I would just shoot a quick email out to people who either I knew they were close because they were turning in their numbers, or I just pulled up my production. And let's say somebody, our first level is a Power 6. Let's say she had 500 wholesale in it. I mean, she's only 100 wholesale away from the wholesale part of it. And if she's got wholesale in it, it means she's been selling something. And if she's been selling something, she's been in front of faces and has been holding parties most likely. And so I want to see if she's close, because you'll have some people who are working away and you just don't know about it. So unless you as the leader are like catching those signs to see like, oh, she's working. She may not be telling me, but she's working. I can see that from her wholesale order. So I'd shoot out emails and I would get a good response from that. Sometimes people don't return a phone call, but they'll return an email and update you with where they're at with their numbers. So that was another way I really coached that program and looked for what I wanted to find. What I wanted to find were people who are working and who wanted to work with me. And sometimes that isn't always obvious. And so I was looking for it. I'm like, who's out there? Who's out there who's working? And maybe I don't know about it. Also, one-on-one coaching, wonderful opportunities for one-on-one coaching. And I believe I've told you before, I did a big, just like a big chunk of coaching calls in the beginning of the month to support people in their book 10 and find out what their goals are and strategize for the month. And as it gets to the middle of the month, I'll do another big round of coaching calls just based on who's doing what and what's happening. And so middle of the month, that's when I'd be looking like, okay, who do I think can finish Power Program, and how could an effective conversation hopefully support them in finishing? Okay. I know we can fall into this thinking of like, well, if she wanted to do it, she would do it, right? If she wanted to do the Power Program, she would do the Power Program. And yes, that is true. But just don't forget how much power you have as the leader, and how much influence, and how much one effective conversation can be a game changer for people. And how one email that says like, hey, I noticed you're doing this. I'm here to support you in any way that would be helpful. Like, let me know what's going on. You initiating that communication. Don't underestimate the power of that. And don't forget about your influence. Don't just sit around and wait for people to work. Look for them. They're out there. They're out there working. Just look for what you want to find and be intentional about it. And then we did recognition, of course. This was a big part of our recognition on the first meeting night of the month, was to recognize our Power Program achievers. And these would be the girls that I would be writing out handwritten postcards beforehand, and then at the meeting stand up and read it to her. You want her to get a spotlight. You want her to be affirmed. You want her to be celebrated. And so take the opportunity to do that. Get her up there at the front, affirm her authentically and meaningfully, and then give her a chance to talk. And I gave my Power Program achievers and star consultants the opportunity to speak at the meeting, and to tell what they love most about the Power Program, how it's supported their business, their best tips and how-tos to work the Power Program. So you want to give them the platform when they achieve that. Okay, so that pretty much covers it, you guys. I think that pretty much covers it with the Power Program. And of course, like recognition flyers, you got to be on point with your visual recognition, with your memes and your flyers and your images. That just goes without saying, right? Okay, so new this year is Century Club. One of my directors came up with this. It was sort of her brainchild and an epiphany she had, that at one of our Unleashed area think tanks, we were basically as a group brainstorming what we wanted to do in the next year, in the coming seminar year, as far as promotions and programs and recognition went. And this came up. It's called Century Club. And it's building to or having 100 customers reordering 50 retail or more within 1 year. And when you hit 100, you are recognized for that. There's a flyer in your packet that you can take a look at it. But I'll tell you where it came from. Where it came from is we were talking about how unit size is such a crucial number for sales directors. And it's your insurance and your security to build and grow your unit size. And it's the gift that keeps on giving to have a large unit size. And we focus on that number. And I'm sure you guys know that there's like flirty 30s and fun 40s and fabulous 50s and stunning 60s. There's little cutesy names for all of the different levels. And so Katie, my director, is like, let's do a version of unit size for our consultants. And essentially for consultants, it's not unit size, it's their customer base. It's their customer base size. And so we, in the Century Club, recognize the number of reorders that consultants get throughout the year. And we have, we named them all I don't know them by heart, but starting with 10, like once they got their 10 reorders, not new orders, but reorders, because we don't want people to just burn through faces. Okay, unless you're teaching customer service and customer follow-up and creating customers for life and creating loyalty in your customers, you will have consultants who just burn through faces. They're doing a lot of faces, but those customers are going out the back door. And we don't want that to happen. We want to close the back door for our customer base and bring them in as a customer and keep them as a customer. And so that's why it's not just a new order, it's a reorder. It's a reorder. It's once somebody has purchased from you for the second time. At 50 retail or more, they can be one of your 100. Okay, so check out that flyer. And then the Star Consultant Program. Okay, here's another big one. So what is in your packet is a 1-page, it's green and white. It's a 13-week plan or strategy to build and develop Star Consultants in your unit. And I created this based on, I have a hair in my lip gloss. I think it's gone. Okay. Based on just how I roll with my Star Consultant program. Again, it's a program that I touch every week because I don't want to say, oh crap, the program's or the quarter's ending and I haven't even talked to anyone. And so I touch it every week. And every week there's something little that I do to promote and recognize and support the Star Consultant program. And so the 13 weeks, how I have it laid out on the strategy worksheet is just an example. I wouldn't call it comprehensive. I don't think I have every last little minute thing that I do with the Star Consultant program on there, but it's sort of a guide that can help you to know what to do each week. And then there's a blank line in each of the weeks for you to fill in your own ideas. And so I want to encourage you guys, this isn't one of your tasks. It's not, it's not really a part of the program, but I want to encourage you to take that and create a strategy, whether for the last 4 weeks of, well, definitely do it. For the last 4 weeks of this quarter, seize this quarter, the third quarter as we wrap it up. And then for the fourth and final quarter, which is a big one in the Mary Kay world, take that and brainstorm it out, strategize it out. What do you want to do each week? What day of the week can you do those things? What can you hand over to your assistant? What kind of flyers are you going to do? What outing are you going to do? And think through all these things so that on March 16th, when we open up with the fourth and final quarter, like you don't even have to really think about it because you've got the plan already mapped out for 13 weeks. You've got it mapped out. Your assistant has got it mapped out, and it's just something that's happening. That's a perfect example of taking something that can seem overwhelming, that can seem kind of daunting, that can cause you to feel like I don't even know where to begin. You take that and then you make it systematic. And so it happens effortlessly. Not without effort, but effortlessly. It's just something that is happening in your business because you thought about it beforehand and put the plan in place. Okay, so I hope that 13-week strategy guide, can help you to do that. And the important thing with the Star Consultant program, guys, is to start early. On the 16th of March, you've already got your flyer in place. You've got your outing details outlined. You've got your recognition outlined, your assistant knows what to do and when, you're ready to go. And I think that's the biggest thing that I see with directors is sometimes it's not till the middle of the quarter that some of this stuff gets figured out. And then you kind of lost half of a quarter of really seizing that opportunity. The outings was really big for me, and that's a part of my welcome orientation as I talk about the Star Consultant program, and I mentioned the outing. And you guys, I swear sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes people ordered a Star order because they wanted to go to our outing because it sounded really fun. I'm not kidding. And sure, that she had other reasons for ordering her star order as well, but it's just that additional thing of like, ooh, look what you get for doing this. And it can be that extra little nudge and motivation to start her business with inventory. But you got to know that from day one, because don't wait half of a quarter to implement that outing, because then you lost 6 weeks of telling people about it and telling new consultants about it. Okay, so that's the most important thing, is to start early. Give it energy once a week. Of course, communicate it to the masses, and it just needs to be everywhere. It needs to be on your website, on Facebook, in the newsletter, recognized in email. It's got to be on Voxer. Like, it's just got to be everywhere. There's e-cards that you can email out from the company. There's individual emails you can send out. I mean, you just want to put it everywhere. Okay, so you communicate to the masses, but then how do you move people? You move people one-on-one and individually. And so the beginning of every new month was one of my tasks that's on I have this page in my notes app that says Leah's months and stuff. And it's a list of how I close out the month and how I open up a month. And one of those things is, once reports close out that first week in the month, I pull up my Star Consultant quarterly tracking, and I see where people are at, who's on target, who's almost on target. And I start reaching out to people. I write handwritten postcards to people. That's something I did not outsource to just be automatic, because I didn't like the generic communication. I wanted to write a handwritten note. The Star Consultant program is too important to me to let that personal piece of it go. My assistant doesn't open the report. I open the report, because I want to see what is happening in my unit with my people that I am leading. And so I'm a big person on delegating, but there are some things, like, you as the leader, you go in there and look at. And for me, the consultant program is something I really wrap my hands around. Okay. And so, yeah, so note cards go out for people who are on target. I do also send an e-card that, that e-card that shows them how close they are to each new or different level. We highlight the outing. I mean, every place you can put it there. And then training at the meeting. We do it at least once a month. It's part of the training that just rotates through. We always have that topic of building and working towards your star. And it's usually just a lot of sales training and customer follow-up training, and, even PCP, how to do PCP follow-up calls. I often have, like, my big selling consultants train, ones that are consistently building to a star. I have them train and give them the platform to share what they're doing. And then at the first meeting of the new quarter, I bring the poster with all the star prizes, and then have them pick one, and then have them crunch their numbers for what they would need to do weekly. Okay, so this teaches them not only how to be a star, but how to goal set, and how to prioritize, and how to take a big number down, a big number, and break it down to a small number, and how to work at something daily, and how to get small daily wins. Okay, so you're teaching your people all those things, all those skills. Remember, these programs develop her as a person. It develops her skills. She can take that goal setting training and apply it to every area of her life. Okay, so we do that so that they have a daily plan or a weekly plan to be a star consultant. I use 21 ways to finish your star. That is it probably really needs a fresh update, honestly, but it is 21 ideas of things to do to sell enough to be a star. So I always work with that a lot. We do email updates with pictures of our current stars and who's close. We do one-on-one coaching with people who are close. Let me make sure I got everything. Okay, and then the last thing, two more things I want to talk about for the Star Consultant program is I have done, and I don't do it every quarter, but have done it quite a bit, where I do a star blitz on the first week of the last month of the quarter. So June is a very common month that I would do this. So it would be like June 1st through June 7th that I would do a star blitz that week. And then, of course, the quarter ends the 15th. And so I kick off the star blitz. I used to, back in the day, do a conference call, but of course, you would do like a Zoom hangout or a Google Hangout with them. And I just did a kind of a state of the unit address, an update on our goals, where we're at, do a little bit of recognition, and then I would go over new products. I would often go over the 21 ways to finish your star, and then I would launch the Star Blitz to them. And the Star Blitz is where you take 7 days, and there's a sales challenge on each of those 7 days. And then at the end of that day or the next morning, recognition for who did the sales challenge and what their results were. And it was all kinds of things from like a 24 and 24 to like a 36 and 36 to mascarathons, $1,000 days. I mean, just all kinds of things. We've used all kinds of ideas over the years. Adopt a grandparent, sunscreen for soldiers. So yeah, we would train on the challenge and then do recognition. And it was just this blitz, and it felt like that. It was just this like powerful 7 days of like lots of communication, lots of recognition, lots of talking to people with where they're at, lots of celebration as people get closer to the goal. And that would be an awesome way to kick off the month that the quarter ends in, especially June. So Star Blitz. And then outings. That's the last thing I'll touch on for stars, and then we'll move on to our last few programs. So outings, I learned this from Lisa Allison, National Sales Director, that she always does her outings with the entire unit, but then the stars get special recognition. I'm like, that's smart, because you're showing everybody what you can earn as a star and giving them the platform, which creates just desire in people to be a star the next quarter. And so for the most part, I did that. There is a couple situations and quarters and events that I did not, that it was just the stars. But as much as I could, I tried to include the whole unit. And so as a director, I did a first quarter awards night. And this is a whole nother topic. But it would celebrate everybody's numbers for the first quarter. So we'd often do it at the end of September or early October. And it would literally recognize like July, August, and September in all kinds of categories. Their sales, their faces, their parties, even like skincare customers that they had, basic sets that they sold. And there was a handful of other things that we recognized. So we recognized everyone's numbers. We gave away prizes. And it would be a kind of a girls' night in where everyone would come in their PJs. Everybody brings food to share, so that there's not an expense to the event. And then I would often have a massage therapist come in. And so the whole unit was invited, but then stars got extra special pampering. Like they would get a manicure and they would get like a 15-minute chair massage. And so while we're doing recognition, one by one, the stars are kind of going into the back room and getting that special pampering, and I have a special gift for them, and we do a little extra recognition for them. So that's typically on most years what I do in the first quarter. In the second quarter, we go to Fabulous Furs. It's this wonderful little boutique in downtown Cincinnati that just has really fun faux fur coats and outfits. And they do a girls' night out for free, and they offer a 20% discount. So it's kind of an event they do where we get the store all to ourselves, and there's snacks, and we just shop together and have fun together and take really hilarious pictures. And we always do that after January Jumpstart. When January Jumpstart ends. As much as I could, I always connected recognition to an event just to be efficient with my calendar. So it wasn't a whole separate event, but it was connected to January Jumpstart. And I did that as much as I could with Gen X Girls Nights Out too. Let's say at Fall Advance, I would do like a pizza party in my suite on Friday night for all my Gen X achievers. Okay, so I'm gonna be at this event anyways. I may as well bring in another event to be efficient with my calendar. So I did that as much as I could, although it doesn't always work out. Our third quarter, we always do dinner and diamonds, and I've done it a variety of different ways. Sometimes we would just go out to eat that Saturday night after career conference. We'd go out to a nice dinner together. We've done it in people's homes where we have lunch after or dinner after a career conference in someone's home, and then the diamonds part is where we give away jewelry, and so we have just jewelry laid out for everyone, and one at a time, starting with the highest level star. They get to come up and pick a piece of jewelry that they take home. So that's dinner and diamonds, and then my fourth quarter, the most common thing that I've done is our unit awards, our year-end unit awards night. I would do in July as early as I could. Typically before seminar, I would try to get it in because I just didn't want to wait. And so we would have just a big awards night. We have a local BW3s that they have a private party room that's free to rent if you buy food. And that's typically where we did it. And we would just have recognition. We'd have a year-end slideshow. And then our stars, they got free admission. They got reserved seating in the front row. And then they got a special gift from me. So that was a way to sort of highlight and feature our stars in front of the entire unit. All right. Okay, let's move on to book 5 and book 10. And it is called book 10, but we do include book 5 achievers just because you've got people who want to work, but maybe not at the book 10 level. And I'm pretty excited if somebody has 5 parties booked, and that communicates that she wants something out of her business. So it's called book 10, but we also recognize our book 5 achievers. And so that really is one of my main focuses in the first 5 days of the month, is working with and coaching and supporting and training on book 10 and recognizing it and promoting it and talking about it and calling people about it and promoting it and talking about it and celebrating it and rallying the team for the first 5 days. And so my goal as a director is that my book 10 was always done by the first, so that I'm done, I'm taken care of, I'm lined up, I'm ready to go. And so then those first 5 days, I could really shift and put my focus on my unit finishing their book 5 or book 10. I always had a promotion. And sometimes it was simple as like, we'll feature your family in the newsletter, and that's free, to something maybe more involved, like a cash giveaway or an actual tangible prize. So sometimes it was something big, sometimes it was something little, but I always had some kind of promotion for our book 10 achievers. We always had a unit goal of how many our unit wanted to hit, regardless of what that was. Let's just say 100. Let's say your unit goal is 100 bookings from your unit. We would just run together for that 100, and we would do updates every day. And as people got bookings, they would post about it. And then, that would bring our number down. You'd have a thermometer that counts up to 100. You fill it in as you go and just rally the entire unit and recognize even people who contribute 1. Okay, sure, they didn't get a book 5 or a book 10 to get the prize or reward or maybe be on the flyer, but you're still recognizing her as she contributed 1 to the team. She contributed 1 to your goal, and you would absolutely recognize her for that. So it gives sort of the little people or the middle people who don't want a lot out of their business but hold parties here and there. It gives them a place to win and gives them a sense of belonging to the team and contributing to the team. And you would Voxer and Facebook are the best places to do this, where people are replying on Voxer as they get bookings, or they're posting on Facebook as they get bookings. So you can really create some movement from this. And as people see people posting and being celebrated, it just creates this well, I don't want to be left behind, or I want to be a part of this. And it does create movement and momentum in your unit in those first 5 days. I have a director who connected her bookings to her production, and she tracked this over time, where she knew if we have X amount of bookings, every booking represents a dollar amount of wholesale. And it's not something I ever personally tracked. I just never had that brilliant idea and thought, but it's been part of her strategy and goal setting that if they need to hit this level of production, then her unit needs this many bookings, because she knows and has tracked over time based on how many bookings they have, how much wholesale that actually produces on average. And so that could be a good way to strategize and goal set on the front end of the month. And then really your book 5 and your book 10 achievers, I mean, it's just so obvious by the 5th of the month who you're going to work with that month. It is just like, it's there, it's on paper, it's black and white. Okay, she's got a book 5, she's got a book 10. Let's go. Here's who I'm going to run with. And I think it can avoid dragging people along who really aren't going to ever do a whole lot, or at least in this season they're not. And it can avoid missing the people who aren't talkers. You know, there are people in your unit who aren't talkers. They're not putting it out there that they want to be a red jacket or a director, not because maybe they don't want to. It's just not how she communicates, or, you know, she's just not going to put herself out there like that. And so it helps you to not miss those people who may not be talking. It helps you to see who are the talkers and who are the walkers, like who's actually walking it out and has parties on their date book. And so I love that about book 5 and book 10 is literally by the 5th, I've got my group of people I'm going to run with that month. And I'm very clear on who they are and how they're set up. And then I often will put their parties, once they turn in their book 5s and book 10s, I'll put their parties on my calendar. So I can see when parties are happening in our unit, and it just triggers me to follow up, like, oh, Emma had a party tonight. Let me see how it went. Triggers that follow-up, which fortune is in the follow-up. Okay, so that about covers it with book 10. Again, we use a Google Doc form for people to turn in their numbers by midnight on the 5th, and then of course do recognition on the 6th. And the tracking sheet for our book 5 and book 10 achievers is in your workbook. Okay, move up in red. This is a pretty obvious one. We all know how you get promoted and move up the career path. And so we recognize this in a big way. There was a time as a new director that I had the thought of, like, I don't think anyone in my unit knows what a red jacket is. Like, I don't think they even know. I don't think they've ever heard the term before. And so I'm like, that's not okay. That's not okay for people to not know what red is. And so I was on this mission for it to always be so clear on what red is, who our reds are, how they get there, what the numbers are. And so again, you put it everywhere. It's in your newsletter, it's on your website, you're recognizing it every month, you're celebrating new people who move up. Use the meeting to feature these people. Again, anybody who moved up the career path, even to senior consultant, they got a handwritten postcard from me, and I stood there and I read it to them at the meeting to celebrate them. And they got really highlighted and had the spotlight shined on them at that first meeting of the month, of the new month. First page of my newsletter has always recognized and featured our reds. There's been seasons we've done a red stiletto debut. For people who move into red, they get a pair of red stilettos. Later into my directorship, I had a red jacket table where all of our red jackets came and sat at the front, and then they were looking out at the guests there. So it was just a seat of honor. It had a black tablecloth over it. It had their names on a tent card, so it was kind of like reserved seating. Sometimes I would have a little gift for them there. And so that was something that we did for reds. And I had the table set up, you guys, before I had reds sitting at it. Okay, build it and they will come. Don't wait till you have a room full of reds to have a red jacket table. You make the red jacket table in anticipation of the reds to come. I know my recruiter, Tina France, does a really good, I've been to her unit meeting, does a really good like music video featuring her red jackets. It's part of their intro to the meeting. And so each of them flash on the screen with pictures of them and their family. That's an amazing way to highlight your reds. And then, of course, you want to give them a leadership role at the meeting so that they're doing registration, or they're doing music, or they're a part of setup or cleanup, or they do a part of the skincare class, or they do a part of marketing. You want to give them a leadership role so they're developing themselves as leaders. And then also my reds, in the seasons where I had my meeting where new consultants were in one room, seasoned consultants were in another room, I would often have red jackets train my new people. And of course, you want them to be prepared and seasoned enough to be equipped to do that, but they would also take on that leadership role, and sometimes train the seasoned people too. They would do both. Okay, so that's the Move Up in Red program. And then let's briefly go over events because our time is coming to an end. And that will cover it. So events, I consider it another program. Again, it's one of those things I touch every week. Sometimes I spend 5 minutes on it. Sometimes I spend 2 hours on it. It just depends on what's happening and how close we are to that event. And event campaigning is something I feel like I mastered as a director, learning how to really communicate an event effectively and get a lot of people to come. Guys, it's worth every ounce of energy and emotion and thought and time you put to it to get your people to events, because essentially it saves you time. I mean, okay. It saves you time because you know what happens when people are at events. I mean, dreams are born, hearts are open, minds are open, tears are flowing. Transformation happens. People's lives change at these events. Had I not gone to seminar back in 2006, I would not be standing here today. You guys, that was a part of my journey to NSD that had I not gone at that time, I don't know if I'd be a national sales director today, or maybe it would have taken longer. I mean, who knows? You never know what God has in store and how he works out his sovereign plan in our lives. But events are crucial. We have to, not just in Mary Kay, but in life, you pull yourself out of your normal routine and out of your home and out of just the mundane routine that you have, and you put yourself in a place where you can learn something new. That's why we go to church every week. I mean, church is like a mini event. You got to pull yourself out of your routine, get out of your house, and come and be with God's people and be in God's presence to learn something new and to grow in your faith and to be encouraged by the community of faith. Okay, that's why we have church. It's why we do any event, because things happen there, lives are changed, people are transformed at events. And so it saves you time, because when people go there, they get a wealth of training, knowledge, education, motivation, and vision that you don't then have to, like, it happened at the event. And then they come home and they're on fire, and you just like kind of keep the fire burning and support them and coach them along the way as they pursue their vision and their journey. Okay, so the time it takes in event campaigning, it's just so worth it. And when you're not investing time into that, like real intentional, effective time into event campaigning, like you just miss out on people really having that moment, that like come to Jesus moment. You miss out on them having that. And it's hard to create that in another, like you can kind of do it at your unit meeting and at your events, but there's just nothing like seminar, fall advance, January jumpstart, and career conference, and feel the power, and the other events that we go to. There's nothing like it. And so spend time on this, spend lots of time on this, call your people, be prepared to overcome objections, make videos, talk about it at the meeting, talk about it again, talk about it again, talk about it again, call them again, call them again, call them again. And I know I'll hear from directors a lot, like, I just don't want to hear people's excuses. Okay, well, are you really prepared to be a leader then? Yeah, leaders, they're inconvenienced, and sometimes it's not easy and it's hard, and you do have to hear people's excuses, but world-class leaders are willing. They're willing to dig in there with their people and do that. And so I always start with an A, B, and C list. I pull up my entire unit list and I scan every single name, because I want to catch those people that like maybe last month she was working her business, or last quarter, last year, maybe something has changed. So I want to catch those people. So I scan through and I make the A, B, and C list. I've trained on this a little bit, so I'll just do an overview. And then that's the list that I work from. And every week I'm working on that list. I'm talking to those people. I'm talking about it at the meeting. I'm making videos talking about my first experience at that event. I'm writing postcards. I have a poster hanging up at the meeting, and we fill in the name as people get registered. I mean, we just eat, live, and breathe the next event that's coming up. I'll often have seasoned people talk about it at the meeting and talk about, like, oh, at career conference last year, here's what I learned, here's what I experienced, here's how it's impacted my life and my business. And so they'll talk about it at the meeting just to sort of romance it. And we send out emails about it with the information and the flyer and who's registered and all the details and where they can win. That's another big one. For every event, I have a list of the recognition and places they can win with who's already earned it. We celebrate them, and who's really close. And so that's something that goes out consistently as just the flyer for the event. So people are always really present to where they can win and where they can be recognized. So that's a part of it. And then as we get closer to the event, it speeds up. Okay, so as we're like down to the last couple weeks, or maybe right before registration is going to end, then it's not just once a week, it's like every day. I'm touching it every day. Okay? And so that is event recognition. And another, a conversation that I often have connected to events, and I'll close with this, is about the value of personal development. And so in the book, A Millionaire Next Door, excellent book, by the way, they basically study millionaires in America, and they study their habits and their spending habits and their ways of thinking and ways of living. And they found that millionaires in America, okay, so not people who make $1 million, but people who have a net worth of $1 million, like they have $1 million banked. There's a lot of people who make millions but don't have millions because they spend millions. If you make $1 million and spend $1,000,001, you're just living paycheck to paycheck, and you're not a millionaire just because you made $1 million. You're a millionaire when you have $1 million in the bank. And so they study people who really actually are millionaires and multimillionaires. And they found that the things that millionaires spend the most money on is personal development and investing in their business. And so they fly to the conferences, they pay the registration fees, they pay for the plane tickets, they make the investments in their business because they know that that's where they get the biggest ROI, is developing themselves and developing their business. Biggest return on investment. And that's same for us in Mary Kay. You guys, that's why we go to seminar, we pay the registration fee, we do the programs, we buy the plane tickets, we invest money in growing ourselves and our business. And so anyways, millionaires spend the most on that and very little on just entertainment, and just consumer spending on stuff and entertainment. Well, the rest of America who aren't millionaires have it flopped. The rest of our country spends the most on mindless entertainment and just consumerism, and the least amount of money on personal development and investing in their business. And so yeah, you want to be a millionaire. You walk in their ways of thinking and in their habits, and it's always worth it to invest in your business. And you guys, even for people who are not serious about their Mary Kay business and Mary Kay is not their number one priority, I still ask them to come to Career Conference because I know how it can bless her and her family and her life. And so people who don't have this business as a priority, they still go on my list. And I just say, come be in a positive space, come get away this weekend. Come Come hear something new. Come develop yourself. Come grow as a person. Come feel empowered as a woman, as a mom, as a wife. I mean, it's like Mary Kay events are like church revivals in a way. So even if they're not serious about building their business or haven't ever held a party, there's still benefit there. And it's always worth investing in yourself. And so those are the conversations I'm having with my unit and having with individual people, to just give them some perspective on Mary Kay events and what we do them for. Okay? You guys, these small little actions every week, when you touch the Power Program every week in the book 10, and you touch the Star Consultant Program, and you touch events, those small little actions every single week, they create a machine, and they create a movement, and they create momentum in your unit. Okay? So continue in your unit communication strategy and add in these programs and map out how each quarter you want these programs to roll in your unit. Okay, my friends, love you guys. Oh my goodness. Have a good week, and I will see you next Tuesday.